Everyone, and welcome to Green Lawn Abbey Stories, provided to you by the Green Lawn Abbey Preservation Association. My name is Robert, and today I'd like to tell you the story of George Edward Kibler, but with a little bit of a twist. You see, it's October, and at the end of October, on the 24th and 25th, we have a little show called Tales from the Crypt that we are going to be presenting for you. Tickets are available at $20 per person for the 24th and 25th, 6 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. shows. Please get them while we have them. At any rate, what Tales from the Crypt is, it's a culmination of all the research that we do on a specific person. And that research creates a script. And that script is what the actors use in Tales from the Crypt to recreate the person that will be speaking to you inside of Green Lawn Abbey on those nights. It's a fun night, or weekend rather. It's a fun way to spend your Halloween. It's history, it's celebration of life and death, and we'd all love to see you there. What follows is my very first performance as George Edward Kibler in Tales from the Crypt. Tales from the Crypt was my very first event, my very first year in the Green Lawn Abbey Preservation Association. I did all of the research, and when my performance was filmed, we then sent that footage to Suzanne Kibler Morris, George Kibler's then 92-year-old daughter, and she loved it. It's a bit cringeworthy for me now. As of this year, well, not this year, but this is something of a time capsule also, because by now both Suzanne and the photographer who helped us have passed away. I will be in Tales again this year, but not as George. This is just a little treat for you folks. Please be nice. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is George Edward Kibler. I was born June 18th, 1877, in a small town called Paoli, Indiana. I'm what you'd call a haberdasher. That's someone who sells suits for a living. I started my career in haberdashery in 1904 in Elwood, Indiana, with a man named Charles Hager. We started the Hager & Kibler Company. By 1905, I found myself in Dayton, Ohio, where we had our first Ohio store. I had a slogan: one price all season, $9.99, the whole season. The Lazarus men had that too, but you see, I didn't have a department, I sent suits. And for $10, I will give you a suit, a jacket, 2 pairs of pants. $10. If you were a really big spender, you could go to the other store of mine, and you spend $15. Then I was also married to a woman named Blanche Minnick, and she was pregnant with our first child. Unfortunately, in 2005, Blanche died, and after her arrangements, I was too grief-stricken to stay in Dayton, and I moved to Columbus. And that's when I started my stores. In Columbus, I actually had 2. One in the Chittenden Hotel, and one, this will be a little bit later on, that we had on Broad and High. It was first at the Dexter Block, but then we had our next door at the Dexter Hotel. Some years later, after my business was off the ground, I was even in the papers, I was in several clubs. In 1914, I met a lovely young lady. Her name is Chlorine Barbara Houck. And she and I, we're 10 years apart, you see. When I met her, she was still a student at Ohio State, and she and her parents lived on Neal Avenue. I myself had another passion. I love fast cars. Can you imagine someone like me driving down Neal Avenue in a nice, stylish speedster, picking up a lady? They liked it back then too. In 1914 we married, and by 1915 we had our first daughter, Barbara. Now, I might want to show you someone we have in here, because in 1919, we were pregnant again with our second daughter. Unfortunately, when she was born in February of 1919, she would be what you'd call a blue baby. Her skin was blue. She was not taking food in. Her blood wasn't circulating through her body. They called that blue baby syndrome back then. She only lived for about a couple of weeks, and we ended up burying her in Green Lawn Cemetery at the time. But we didn't see fit to name her. It was just too painful for us. In 22, we then had the bundle of joy, Suzanne, who came into our lives. Suzanne was our youngest, born in 1922, and she was actually a fairly precocious child. She would always get into things, dresser drawers, old things in the closet. When Suzanne was a little older, it was actually her who found out about not only my first wife and daughter, and then her sister, who we have up here. In the 20s, I was actually doing really well with my business. Again, I was a member of several golf clubs, among them being the Scioto Country Club in Upper Arlington. And, well, something just wasn't right with me. You see, I always felt like I was sick. Something was wrong with my stomach. I was always feeling kind of, well, just not right. I thought I had stomach cancer. I went to places like, say, the Battle Creek Sanitarium in Michigan, you know, from the gentleman who invented the cornflake, John Harvey Kellogg. He would send me home with this thing that looked like a plow horse yoke. You put it over your shoulder, and there was a red light and there was a green light. You plugged it in, there was a really loud noise, and it scared your family, of course. It didn't cure me of anything. It wasn't until I actually went to the Mayo Clinic in Minnesota that I found that I definitely did not have cancer. My family would probably call me a hypochondriac, because I think I still had something, you know. Something. I mean, my stomach was always nervous, but I still looked at that as an excuse to retire. So in 29, I sold my shares and I retired, and I golfed more. I actually golfed about a couple of times a week. I had been a member of the Scioto Country Club since 1915, and 31 was a really big year for me because, well, how many golfers do we have here? Anyone? Well, do you know what the Ryder Cup is?
I've heard of it, but I couldn't tell you
Well,
what it is.
in 1927, it was started amongst the English PGA and the American PGA as kind of a match game. It was kind of a, let's see who's better. Well, and it started in 27, and we thought, well, hey, we've got the course, we've got the money, why don't we try it? So things were put in place that we could have the Ryder Cup here in Columbus, Ohio. And I was actually on a committee that welcomed the British PGA to Columbus, Ohio. That was myself, William Troutman, and John Postlethwaite. We were on a ship called the Berengaria, a nice, beautiful steamship that was captured in World War I, 352 British steamship. And we basically, everything, see, the deal was already set. We were just saying, please come to Columbus, we'd love to have you. And I was a ticket chairman. Basically, I set the prices. It was $1 for just the qualifying rounds, $2 for a day, or $5 for the entire event. You'll be pleased to know that we won. Corinne and I were pretty far along in our years. I was about 10 years older than she was. I always said I'd be the first to go. Unfortunately, in 1953, Corinne suffered a stroke while she was visiting our daughters in Texas. And when she arrived in Columbus, just sometime later, she had a heart attack and she died. I was the one who actually found her on the floor. I didn't really go anywhere. When you suffer a loss like that, all the losses that I suffered my whole life, you don't want to really do anything, you're devastated. I spent my whole life trying to prepare for her, and when she was gone, I left the house just as the way she would have. You know, every Thursday night, she cooked something for me. We had help, but every Thursday night, before she died, she cooked lamb chops, baked potatoes, and green peas. She made the best angel food cake you could ever taste. And her Christmas fruit cakes, they'd knock you out. So, I spent 9 years alone in the house. I didn't go to my daughters, even though they had. In 1962, I met my end with the result of congestive heart failure. My house was willed to my daughters, Suzanne and Barbara, who, at the time, because the Columbus School for Girls was on that area, they had the house appraised. And what they did was half sale, half gift. You will be able to drive by the Columbus School for Girls campus now, and you'll see the Kibler house. I believe it's still part of the institution, but which I feel is just fine. Folks, I think my tea time is 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, so I'm going to have to tell you good night. Good night, folks.